1, 2, 3, 4. All right, welcome back to Country and Cold Cans. As always, I'm Logan, sitting here with Andy and Kyle. All right, let's just jump right into it with the Cold Cans rundown, the weekly six-pack. Kicking things off with what has been literally all the talk on the Country and Cold Cans Twitter, so it's unavoidable. I find it kind of humorous in some ways and a little bit dumb in others. I feel like a lot of people's quote-unquote principled stances they're taking are really stupid as shit, if I'm being honest. But you boys, I'm sure by now have heard the Neil Young, Joe Rogan, and Spotify situation.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Like, so just for the listeners who maybe haven't heard this, essentially what has happened recently is, as we know, Joe Rogan a while back signed a huge deal for his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, to be on the exclusively on Spotify. He got a huge contract for that. He gets like 9 to 11 million listeners almost per podcast. Biggest platform when it comes to any type of radio show, TV show, podcast, doesn't matter. Joe Rogan is pretty much number one. And on top of that, Rogan has been a guy that has definitely talked to lots of different people across the spectrum, like from different industries, some politics, some scientists, some doctors. He's never been a blatant, siding one side or the other on an issue. And most of the time he's just having conversation with these cats. And but lately, Joe Rogan's been labeled the boogeyman, and people are calling him Dr. Joe Rogan, and that's where Aaron Rodgers is getting his medical advice from. And the new thing now is to say that he is spreading COVID misinformation. I have a lot of issues with the word misinformation because it just essentially means anything you disagree with, you can call misinformation now. But the problem with this is, in my view, before I open it up to you guys, is Joe Rogan literally has talked to a variety of different people when it comes to the COVID issue since it started. Like he's talked with, I think the guy's name is like Peter McCullough or something, like some shit like that. And then Robert Malone. Those two guys are definitely more on the skeptic side of, they're not anti-vax. I mean, Robert Malone owns like 9 patents on the mRNA vaccine. The original technology. They're not anti-vaccine, but they're not like, the COVID fear porn people. And then on the flip side, he's also talked to CNN's own Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and Michael Osterholm, who is like on the task force for President Biden's COVID-19 response team or task or whatever it's called. So, I mean, if you ask me, for my opinion here on Country Cold Cans, he's kind of talked to people on different sides of this issue about, how far lockdown should go and what the efficacy of the vaccine, whether or not people should take it. He's never been if people that say he's like anti-vax and he's taking horse paste, I guarantee you they've never listened to a full episode of JRE. I guarantee that. They've listened to some clips, taken it out of context, or read headlines from mainstream traditional media. But that's been like the big issue with Joe Rogan, is they're saying that he is spreading COVID misinformation and he's very anti-vax. And I've even heard some people call him an alt-right Nazi, for God's sake. But yeah, seriously, he's not a right winger. He may have a couple right wing views on some issues, but he's not Alex Jones. But then there's you go to Neil Young. Neil Young I'm a fan of Neil Young. Be honest about that. Unknown Legend is an absolute banger. Love that song. But Neil Young, is how should I put this nicely? Past his prime. He's a past his prime rock and roll artist who doesn't have the influence that he probably thinks he has in his own mind currently right now. And I'm saying this as a Neil Young fan. And but he pretty much gave an ultimatum to Spotify saying that you either have to pick between Rogan or me. Now, if this was 1972, it might have a different weight on that, but this is 2022. And sorry, Neil, but Joe Rogan's much more important for Spotify and has a much bigger platform than Neil Young does. So to finish this part up, Neil Young decided to pull his music off, which he's well within his rights of doing. Like Joni Mitchell, I believe, has followed up and done the same thing because they said they can't be a part of a platform that, allows misinformation like with Joe Rogan. But I kind of want to get your guys' take on this, on the Neil Young, Joe Rogan, and Spotify situation. Like, what do you guys think?
Bye. I mean, look, man, a lot of this stuff just gives me a headache. Frankly, because I don't care
Right.
I think 99.9% of people that think they're taking some kind of stand aren't. They're just doing it for social media clout.
Yep.
The main thing is, if you're mad about it, Neil Young, go on a show.
Seriously, have a conversation about
it. Disprove what he has to say. I mean, this stuff just irks me because, in one way, you're not benefiting anyone. And two, has Joe Rogan had some wild people on his shows? Yes. I mean, the
Alex Jones was on there.
are hilarious, especially the one with Tim Dillon. That is just a hilarious episode. But I don't think he takes himself that seriously. I think he just asks a lot of questions, and people just get mad whenever you. It isn't so much it's the misinformation. It's no, you're saying things you don't really like and you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Everybody should have a voice until your voice disagrees with their opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't care about Neil Young. I mean, he passed his prime. I don't care about any of those people that really made their stance. I mean, cool. Go to Apple Music or wherever else, Amazon Music, wherever. I mean, instead of being a principled person, go be a shill for Jeff Bezos and Tim Cook. I mean, come on. Like, of the three, Spotify is the best company in comparison to Amazon and Apple.
Yeah, I mean,
and they both got a lot of dirt in their closet. So your principled stand isn't really principled. It's just social media clout.
The thing that gets me is we've been very vocal about the pros and cons of Spotify as a platform, right? Like, yeah, the pay out the artists isn't great, and that's being nice about it per stream. But at the same time, Spotify has opened us up to a whole variety of artists that we probably wouldn't have ever discovered if it hadn't been for that platform. And I've talked to a lot of artists that have said that themselves. But at the same time, Neil Young, seriously.
Come on, man.
At what point do you really think that at this point you have enough influence to be able to say that they're going to pull the top podcast and pretty much the top show in the country down just because you're going to remove your music off? It's not a principled stand. If you feel that strongly about it, Neil Young, awesome. I'm still going to like your music. I still, at the same time, don't really give a shit what you think. Don't really give a shit what Joe Rogan thinks. I like Rogan's show. I listen to it here and there. I'm not a devoted JRE guy, but I do listen to Rogan's show. But I think, Andy, before I flip it over to you, the thing that annoys me the most is I've seen a lot of people think that they're being principled on Twitter, whether it's a musician or it's just a fan who they're using the hashtag Spotify Exodus and they're canceling their Spotify subscription, tweeting about it. I'm like, good for you. Nobody fucking cares. Seriously, nobody fucking cares, because the reality is it's just chasing social media clout for your echo chamber. You're not you just don't like people that have different opinion, whether or not they're right or wrong is beside the point. You just don't like a different opinion. And on top of that, I just think it's really stupid to try to say that he is the bad actor in society when he's not really telling people what to think. He's having conversations with people who are quote unquote experts in their field who have a differing opinion from maybe a different expert, and he's been very balanced on who he's had on there. I also don't like when I've seen some artists and some fans on Twitter saying that, making it seem like you can't like both, you can't be a Neil Young fan and a Joe Rogan fan. That's bullshit. I like both. Like I said, I've been listening to Neil Young for years. I've been listening to Joe Rogan for years. Guess what? Most of us out there actually can listen to both and like both. Not everybody falls into this extremist bullshit. I get a little heated over this because it's annoying all the time how you have to pick a side on every single fucking thing. No. I still like the music. I still like the podcast. I'm going to listen to the podcast. You don't like that? Kiss my ass. That's the way I look at it. Andy?
I have become less of a Neil Young fan since his last Spotify ordeal. The guy was impossible to listen to because he refused to be on Spotify because their audio quality wasn't good enough. Did Spotify ever improve their audio quality, or did Neil Young just cave on his hard stance?
I have no idea to answer that. I don't even remember
And
that.
Yeah, for the longest time, Neil Young was not on Spotify. He said that the sound quality from Spotify was not good enough for his music, so he wouldn't put it on there for the longest time.
It's interesting.
Like Spotify was the problem. No, it's my shitty car speaker is the problem. What difference does it make?
Or the Big Lots Bluetooth speaker that you had in your truck for years.
You mean this one?
Oh, you still got it. That thing's still working.
Still works, dude.
You've had that thing for almost
$15 from Big Lots.
Yeah, you've had that thing for almost 9 years. That's crazy.
From Big Lots. You tell me Big Lots stuff sucks.
My couch is from Big Lots. It's a phenomenal couch.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, you can find some cool shit at Big Lots.
Yeah,
So,
Big Lots has got better quality product than Neil Young's opinions.
yes. Look, man, there's a famous British guy that does a car show named Jeremy Clarkson. And one of the funniest things I ever
The guy
heard
that
him
got
say,
didn't he get canceled from Top Gear? Was that the guy?
he technically got fired because he punched a producer, and he said some, should I say, controversial. Maybe. Anyway, he did this show called Clarkson's Farm, and the young guy who's about our age that helps him doesn't have social media. As we'd call him not a good old boy, but like a redneck. Just a British version of a redneck. Doesn't do technology at all. And he was checking his phone. He was like, "Hey, what are you looking at?" He's like, "Oh, this is Twitter, where left-wing people argue with even more left-wing people about today's issues." And and the last thing I'll say on Rogan is I think one of those episodes, I don't remember if it was the Malone one or the other one. He asked the guest asked him had he interviewed Robert Kennedy, the really crazy anti-vax guy. And he was like, "No, he's kind of a nut. I'm not going to talk to him." I mean, that's pretty much what he said. So, I mean, the dude does have boundaries. He won't just interview anyone.
No, it's not like he's going to have some freaking like crazy people. Like Alex Jones is probably about as crazy as he's had on there. And like people can have their opinions on Alex. I think Alex is a nut. I think I'm going to be honest. I think Alex is a fucking nut, but he's a funny nut when he was on on Rogan.
Which him and Tim
I
Dillon
don't support his
together.
conspiracies, but he's entertainment.
Well, here's the other thing. People want to call Joe Rogan a white supremacist. Well, he's never had one on a show, unlike CNN. That's all I have to say.
Well, it's just funny to me because, like, I think my frustration is not so much even with Neil Young, because look, Neil Young can pull his music as he wants. He did. Good for him. I don't really care. I don't know why everyone is applauding it so much. I don't get that, but I think it's more so people's reactions. And it's the social media reactions, right? Because it's not real life, but I read it because I run the socials for this podcast. And it's just so frustrating how everyone it's tribalism at its finest. Like you have to sit there and pick a side on this thing. And you either are a virtuous, good, moral person, or you're a piece of shit neo-Nazi. And there's no in between for people. Like you can't say that you like Rogan and Neil Young because they just look at you funny. Like, how is that possible? I'm sorry. Things can be more nuanced. You can disagree with someone's personal views on something and still enjoy their product they're putting out, whether it's music or a podcast. It's not that difficult. Like, I can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yeah, I don't really care. Cool, Neil Young, cool.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel. I don't even know the other people.
And it would have been a bad business move on Spotify's part to pull
They're
Joe
not
Rogan.
going to do that.
No, they've invested a lot of money in that guy.
In all honesty, I think he wrote a check that he wasn't ready to cash.
Neil Young, yeah.
Yeah. I think he actually thought they were gonna bow down to him, and they were just like, nah.
Yeah, seriously. And honestly, like, I'm glad they called his bluff. And for the people out there who may hear this and want to think that we're all kind of crazy anti-vax conspiracy theorists, I'm saying this as a fully vaccinated Neil Young fan who thinks he's a legendary artist in the genre of rock and roll.
Well, I have to give him
nobody in 2022. He was not influential enough to really make a big stink about it with Spotify. It's just reality of it. Sometimes you have to accept reality.
Yeah, well, I think it's two things. One, I have to give Neil Young credit. He got called out on his statement, and he stood by it. So
Yeah.
cool, good job.
Oh yeah, stick to your guns, man. Like he laid the ultimatum out there, and he followed through.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't get made look like a bitch. So
Yeah,
I mean, he cashed his in a check. Two, I mean, I guarantee you, if you asked 10,000 15 to 40-year-olds who is Joe Rogan and who is Neil Young, I would say over 80% of them don't know who Neil Young is.
Yeah, at this point, that's probably true. And like that underscores my point about in 2022, he's just not that influential anymore. Yeah, I mean, it's a reality of where we're at.
Yeah.
Do you think it was just a business move on his part? Since
we're talking about him, right? And
people will go listen to his music on YouTube, and I think YouTube pays more for playing a video than Spotify pays for a song.
And it's not just that. When was the last time that either of you guys thought about Neil Young? I mean, we led the show with him today, and think that shows a million times bigger than ours have been talking about it. So I mean, he's gotten his name in the press. You know what I mean? So
there's an old saying: it doesn't matter if they're talking good or bad about you; they're talking about you.
Yeah. And I mean, I think my frustration
that might not be as true today as it used to be.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I don't know. As long as you're in the news, you're still relevant.
Yeah. I mean, last thing I'll have is I'll reiterate. I think my frustration is more with people's reactions on Twitter, because Twitter is a fucking cesspool sometimes.
It's always a cesspool.
Yeah. But, anyways. Yeah, that's the Neil Young, Joe Rogan stuff. Moving on in the Cold Cans Rundown Weekly Six Pack. All right. We have new music we've talked about this a couple weeks ago, waiting for it when the single was released, Morgan Wade, and then also new music from Haley Witters. Did either of you have a chance to listen to the new bonus tracks on the deluxe version of Reckless by Morgan Wade?
Yes.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Yes.
It's more Morgan Wade, which is good with me. I don't know if I like any of them more than I do the original. What was it? 10 songs on the album. Yeah. Maybe I haven't had time to fully digest it. What was the single, Run? I thought that was the weakest of the bunch.
That song's growing on me.
Now, one of them, keep in mind, is a cover. Suspicious Minds is a cover.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Okay.
You don't know that song?
I don't know.
Maybe
either.
I don't know that song.
Yeah, y'all need to Google the original one after this. But probably the one I don't remember. It was covered by Elvis. I know that.
So you know it a lot too. You know it pretty good too, then, don't you?
I know the song. I knew when I heard it, it wasn't her song. So yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But my favorite one so far was one I'd already heard this song on YouTube years ago. But it was The Night. She's done that song acoustically for years, so it was really cool to be able to hear the full studio version of that.
Yeah, you played that in my basement a few months ago. I didn't realize that was the song. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
A little bit different. Elvis had sung "Suspicious Minds." That's the version that I knew. I don't know if he was the original recording artist, but that's the version I knew when I was growing up. But my grandma's a big Elvis fan. But yeah, The Night was probably I think the standout. But I got to say, the writing on Through Your Eyes, I really, really appreciate.
That was the standout to me.
Really?
Yeah. That one's, I don't know, it's just different. So, that's one of the things I've said about her before. It's not something I've really heard before.
Yeah. I mean,
did you guys see the video to Run?
I actually haven't watched it yet.
I have not.
I was wondering if there's like a metaphor in that video or something. They're like filming like a Bonnie and Clyde like scene, but it's like of them filming it. I was like, I'm sure there's a metaphor, but I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to watch it and then I'll give you my thoughts after I see it. But Andy, I want to pivot back to Through Your Eyes real quick. What was your take on this? Because like initially when I heard it, it was like, I don't know if it's like, because I don't think she has children. I know she has a younger sister, I want to say, that's still like, school age that back home. But the thing about like the opening lines, like the scariest thing I ever heard was a 3-year-old's mouth the words, "I want to be like you." I wonder if this was like from the narrator's perspective, like, talking about your own children, like, and then it kind of makes you second guess some of the things you say, some of the things you do. Like
It
I
struck
really
me
appreciated
as
that
like
thematically.
like a niece nephew aunt thing for some
Right.
reason. It to me, just the way it was written, structured, it didn't seem like quite as close as a like mother daughter thing or
Yeah.
mother son. More like a aunt type deal.
Yeah. Or like a little cousin or something.
Yeah, that it makes you think about, like, I guess it makes you more retrospective, not like, oh shit, I got to do something different
Right.
type deal.
No, yeah, that's what I think I liked about it too, is because that's one of those things that you know, you kind of, it hits everybody at some point whenever you have a kid or whether you have a niece or nephew or anything. Like when little kids are actually, they're like, their minds are like sponges. So it's like whenever they're watching you and they kind of see some of the stuff you do, and if they repeat it, it kind of almost makes you be a little bit reflective and be like, oh man, maybe I don't speak the best way that I can. I'm dropping too many F words.
Well, yeah, I can see that. I took it as more like maybe she just wants to look at, like, imagine being a kid again is kind of the way I look at it. It's like I don't know if that's right or not. I really don't know. But do you follow what I'm saying?
Not really.
Yeah, I think because there's a line in the song where she said something that said,
she says,
I wish I could see it through your eyes.
Right.
Like,
That's why I was like,
yeah.
Imagine seeing the
It's
world
both.
again as like a 5-year-old versus
Right.
maybe
Like more like
you
see the world as an innocent place, not as,
yeah, exactly. And you articulated it much better than I did. But yeah, that's kind
big
of
brain over here.
big brain. Yep. That was kind of the way I took that song, but I don't know if that is right or if your analysis
It's both,
is
I
better.
think, because it's the two lines of it.
Yeah.
It's more so it's like this, like the way that the child sees the world as an innocent place, and also as the child wants to be like her, and she's not, I guess in the aspect living right, essentially, or not satisfied with the way that her life is. She wouldn't want to be a role model, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not even so much like 100%. I'm going to change everything. It's just like maybe it's still kind of the realization that you're not a role model for little kids to be following every single thing you do and say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I agree with you, Andy. That was a standout track from the new ones that we got. Kyle, which one was your favorite? I don't know that one.
Probably that one. The one we were just talking about, I can't remember the name of it. I just had a mind fart. Through Your Eyes. I didn't really have too many strong of a thought on any of them. I thought they were. See, when we first did it, her thing, the album just progressively got better.
Yeah.
Each time I listened to it, and maybe I got to do these with the new songs, but I don't really have a favorite of the bunch.
No.
I still like the original 10 a lot more.
Yeah, I do too. And like I said, when we listened to Run and talked about it a couple episodes back, I think that really is like, it's indicative. This is a deluxe record, right? So I think the 10 best songs or the 10 best that work together as a cohesive record were released originally. And these are good songs. They're better songs than most people have on as album cuts on their regular LP release. But, I do think that I prefer the original 10 versus these, but these were still good.
Yeah, that was still good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't really know if I have a favorite of the bunch. I still found myself really listening to the original 10.
Yeah.
I tend to not like the deluxe version of albums. It's rare that I really want to listen to the deluxe. I want to listen to the original.
Yeah. I'm kind of that way too.
Yeah.
And then the other artist that we want to talk about, keeping it in the female country roots world, is Hailey Whitters. We tried talking about Hailey a couple weeks ago, but we lost all the audio on that podcast, so we're bringing it up here. This is somebody that I sent to you guys probably a few weeks back. I'm a big fan of Hailey Whitters. I initially listened to her.
I know why too.
Well, I actually would love to hear that here in one second, because I'm curious as what your reasoning for why I like her is. But She's someone that I discovered, a year or two ago. I liked it back then, but I didn't really get into it. It didn't click as much. But about a few months back, I gave it another shot on her most recent record, and it really connected with me that time. And on that one, she co-wrote a lot of the songs. She's from a very small town in Iowa. She released a deluxe version called "The Dream, Living the Dream." But like 10-Year Town was probably the first one that I heard. And 10-Year Town, I think, is a fantastic song about the struggles of being a artist trying to make it, especially in Nashville, because they always say it's a 10-year town. But in that song, like the hook says, I'm 12 years into a 10-year town, and talking about other people around her being the next big thing, the struggles of being a musician trying to make it in Nashville. What, I'm 12 years into a 10-year town?
No, you said that she's the next big thing.
No. Other artists around her being the next big thing.
Yeah, but what's that mean?
Everyone else is.
I'm not getting your question.
William Clark Green.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's funny. I get it now. But yeah, I mean, there were just lots like the on that record the melody on Dream Girl was really good. Heartland has been one that and Loose Strings have been two that have really stuck out to me. Like Loose Strings, that one in particular, it's like a song about a guy and a girl having a fight while they're drinking, and it was a Brent Cobb co-write with Eric Dillon and Philip White. Brent Cobb's fantastic artist, fantastic songwriter, but that song, like the narrator is fighting with her partner, and then they're both drunk, so her partner takes her keys and throws them and says, I don't want you ending up dead or being busted by the cops for driving drunk. So she says she walks home alone. It's just a fantastic song. It's a lot of really good songwriting on this record that Hailey Whitters has that kind of like appeal that to both the independent but also the mainstream, because she signed to Big Loud, which is the same record label as Ernest and Hardy and Wallen. But yet she's also written songs with Laurie McKenna and BJ Barham. And I want to say I even read that American Aquarium is supposed to guest on her next album that's, I believe, is supposed to be coming out this March. But she has a new song they just released the single for it called Everything She Ain't. And it really kind of reminds me of like the 90s country style songwriting with the chorus.
Song slaps.
Yeah, it does. Because like it is, the part was like, I want to be the whiskey in your soda, the lime in your Corona, shotgun of your Tacoma, the Audrey to your Hank. That's like very, in my opinion, quintessential like 90s style songwriting that I really, really like. I know Andy's not as big of a fan as you and I are, Kyle, of that stuff. But what are your guys' thoughts of Hailey Whitters and her new song and her music in general?
So, Andy, as soon as I heard Heartland, I was like, this sounds like a song Andy likes, because it's got that little play on words that you like so much. But I don't know if you like that song or not.
I don't either.
Okay, interesting.
He probably hasn't heard it.
I don't know if I have or not.
Is the song?
I can only name you two that I know for a fact I've heard. Three. I've heard the Dream Girl, the one with Brent Cobb on it, and the new one. I'm not sure what else I've heard. Yeah,
Kyle. Andy's that friend that when you send him a song recommendation, he goes, "Yeah, I'll check it out," knowing damn well he'll never listen to it.
I did check it out. I don't know the name.
Yeah, I love it. I love this girl. She's really good. Is the song the one we did with Jordan Davis? Is that a cover of another song? Because I feel like I've heard that song somewhere.
No, it's something not a cover. I don't
something think. Very similar to it. It might not be the exact song, but I kept forgetting. I was like, I feel like I've heard this before, but I could be wrong. I could just be completely making that up.
She co-wrote that with Ben West and Hillary Lindsey, so she's a writer on that song.
Okay, never mind then. I don't know what I'm thinking of then, but anyway, my two favorite songs are Everything She Ain't, because like you said, it has that 90s vibe to it, and my favorite one's probably Heartland, just because I love those little play on words. Because when I first heard it, I was like, oh, it's just going to be a song about the heartland of America. Nope, it's not what it was. And I was pleasantly surprised. The one that she did with Little Big Town was pretty good too. But those two, the Everything She Ain't and Heartland are my favorite.
Yeah. Another banger she has that's very 90s is one she did with Trisha Yearwood. How Far Can It Go?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
That sounded like good. A Trisha Yearwood song from the 90s.
Yeah, I haven't heard Trisha Yearwood in a long time. Did she give up touring and everything too with what's his face to raise her kids.
I like how you call one of the biggest artists in country music history. What's his face? Garth Brooks.
Garth Brooks. I'm not as big a Garth Brooks fan as a lot of people,
which is fair. Like, trust me. Like,
I'm not very high on Garth Brooks.
Yeah. So what's his face? Yeah. Mr. Yearwood.
Mr. Yearwood. There you go.
But yeah, like she didn't tour for a while. Yeah, I think she's played some shows, but she's not like out there hitting the roads like she used to do.
Yeah. She already has another album in the works. She just released. What's the date on that album?
So
that's a deluxe of 2020.
That was the deluxe. Yeah, the original The Dream came out in 2020. Yeah.
Okay, so that's okay. That's not as soon as I thought it would. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
I am too. Like, that's on our radar. We definitely want to check that out and have something, prepared on the pod for that when that comes out. But
we love women country singers here on Country and Cold Cans.
Lately, we have been on a big female kick on Country and Cold Cans.
We have, yeah.
Between Morgan Wade, Ashlyn Kraft, Haley Witters.
Yep, yeah. We're a big fan. Most of my favorite other artists. A big Miranda Lambert fan, Runaway June fan. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Andy. What is the reasoning that I like Haley Witters?
Yeah, I'm curious to hear this.
This specifically everything she ain't, because that's what I listened to today. I got heavy early Taylor Swift vibes from that song.
Interesting.
I don't get Taylor Swift vibes from her.
I hear more a mix of early Miranda and early Casey.
Added to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get some Casey
like the
vibes.
like the Teardrops on My Guitar era.
Right. Interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and listen and see if I hear it.
And also, they're at a high school, just like early Taylor Swift. Everything was about a high school.
I mean, everybody knows I'm a Taylor Swift apologist, man. I'm a fan of her songwriting, and I'm not going to even front about that.
Off of that song, I was like, I think Logan might like this girl because of T Swizzle.
She's way more country than Taylor ever was, though.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to go back and listen with that in mind to see if I hear it. Like I said, I heard a lot more of a early Miranda Lambert, early Casey Musgraves kind of mix when I first heard it is what it kind of jumped in my mind.
I may or may not know any of those songs that you just mentioned.
Andy's on a podcast where we talk a lot about music, and he doesn't listen to music anymore.
I don't know that.
He's too busy listening to Dr. Joe Rogan tell us what to do with vaccines.
I don't know early Miranda Lambert, Casey Musgrave. I don't know that.
Early Miranda Lambert was the best Miranda Lambert.
Yeah, Kyle, it's all that horse paste he's taking right now to combat the vid that he's making him forget. Is making him forget all of his music.
D-Very, do you like the song that she did with Ernest?
That's a cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But I thought it was pretty solid. It was good for a cover. Put it that way.
I want to know who Countrypolitan is.
Oh, you don't know what Countrypolitan is?
No, I don't.
Countrypolitan was a style of country music, I believe, in the 1960s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, Kyle. You're on a country music podcast. You don't know your genres.
Well, I mean, that was a little bit before his time.
Yeah, my introduction to country starts in about 1980. Yeah. That's just what I grew up listening to.
The George Strait, Randy Travis stuff was kind of the move for the genre away from that kind of slicker strings, heavy countrypolitan kind of slicker sound. They were the guys that kind of brought country back to a little bit more of a it was like when the neo-traditional kind of wave came through. And then like the outlaw movement in some ways was a response, not direct response because they hated that stuff. They were friends with those guys, but it was more like a more raw, more real alternative of country music at the time. But yeah, that style of music, like you've heard some countrypolitan sounding songs from those old country stuff. You just probably didn't know the term.
So like Conway.
Some of those folks, yeah. Conway was probably he was bigger more in the 70s, though, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
Conway. I mean, Conway always had baby making music.
Yeah, I think "Hello, Darling" that was like 1970 something.
Yeah, but
yeah, I love some Randy Travis too.
Oh gosh, yeah. Randy Travis is North Carolina boy. I saw him at the airport, actually.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah. Andy, you remember that trip we took to Tulsa a few years back? when you drove out there, obviously, because, trucker Andy, but me and my brother and his wife, we flew out there and we had a layover in Dallas. And this was when like Randy Travis was kind of having he had like a stroke, I believe, and he was in a wheelchair. And but he was literally like 20 feet from us. It was really cool because me and Dustin were like hitting each other, and we were like, look, it's Randy Travis. Like, I really wanted to go over there and say hello and take a picture, but since he was like in not the best health condition, I didn't. Like, just out of respect for him as a country legend. But it was really cool. I have a creepy picture off to the side of him sitting in a wheelchair.
That's like
in Dallas.
That's like almost as cool as two guys that lived on my floor in my dorm. They took a picture of Bernie Sanders in the Baltimore airport.
Was it really Bernie?
Yeah, it was really Bernie Sanders.
That's
They're just sitting there, and he put it on his story it was the 2016 election stuff. Before, he was just getting on a regular airplane.
I wonder if he was sitting in the chair like he was at President Biden's inauguration that got turned into a meme for like 3 months.
Yeah. He just put it on his story, and I was like, there's no way. Is that really Bernie Sanders? He's just chilling in the airport. So, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. So, yeah, look out for Haley Witter's new record, I believe, is coming out in March. I'll have to double check that, but I think it is.
That's dope.
So,
yeah.
Looking forward to that. Andy, listen to her.
Yeah, you know what happens when female artists drop records in March? They usually become albums of the year. Could be 2 years in a row.
That's true. Maybe be on the lookout, an early nominee. We'll see how it is. But
we'll see.
All right, moving on along on the weekly six pack. All right, this weekend, one of my favorite weekends of the year. It's Road Trip to Raleigh weekend here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Pretty sure if you're listening to this, some of you know, some of you may not. But Road Trip to Raleigh dates back to 2015, retroactively, really. But 2015, give you a brief backstory on it. It's pretty much that weekend is the reason this podcast exists and our website exists. In this podcast, like all this music we've talked about on here is strictly because of what happened that weekend. Andy and I had somehow, and help me, I can't remember how I discovered the name American Aquarium, but I saw that BJ had gone to NC State. Thought that was pretty cool. I was like a junior at NC State at the time. I got to listen to their music a little bit. It was Burn, Flicker, Die, their 2012 record, I believe, on Spotify. And shout out Spotify for introducing me to that. And then I told Andy, I said, hey, man, we knew like some of their songs. We knew a couple of Turnpike songs, but not a lot. I was like, hey, man, there's tickets. Yeah, like one.
Like
I think it was
7 and 7.
7 and 7. I was like, hey, man, what do you say we go to this? And he was in. So we got tickets to the Lincoln Theater. It was the Wolves album release party. I think we went to night 2 that year.
Yeah.
And it was a great lineup. John Moreland opened. Turnpike as the middle act. We'll never see that ever again in our lives because they're too big to be a middle act at Lincoln Theater. They're too big for Lincoln Theater, period. And then, BJ and the Boys of American Aquarium headlined. The next year they did it again. And so on and so forth. And it got branded as Road Trip to Raleigh. And so far, they've had people from like all the lower 48 states, multiple countries to come into Raleigh, North Carolina for this weekend. He has 2 openers before each night. And this year, it had a brief hiatus last year due to COVID. But I've been to every year that it's been put on. Andy's been to a handful of years. I know Kyle's been once. But my brother and his wife, and then a handful of our other friends, but my brother and his wife have been every year but the first year. And they're coming down from Northern Virginia on Thursday because we're going Thursday and Friday, and I may go Saturday. But looking forward to that again. We've got some good openers again this year. It's usually a pretty good opening slot for most of the nights. But Andy, what is something that kind of sticks out with you about your road trip to Raleigh memories, if you can remember them?
Have I been 3 times?
I think you've been 3 times, yeah.
The one time I went, you were just shit canned.
Me or Logan?
That's a good question.
And you got me in oodles of trouble that we're not going to talk about in this podcast.
Just in case Bailey might be listening.
Yep.
Oh boy. For some reason that I to this day will never understand, the gallons of PBR we drank the first time.
Yeah. And how we got that PBR, it still perplexes me because we were 20 years old.
Were there no other options?
I honestly don't know why we were drinking PBR. I think we were
like,
20 years old and they were willing to sell it to us, so we took it.
And like a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who opened for American Aquarium the year I went?
Well, how many years ago was it?
It was 2020.
It had to have been 2019.
Was it 2019?
Yeah, because last year they didn't do it.
Well, last year was 2021.
No, you're right. It was 2020. Last year was sorry. These last couple of years during the pandemic, it all kind of blurred together.
It's blur.
I want to say it was Mike and the Moon Pies, wasn't it? They did one night. I don't remember.
No, it was just one.
I've
guy.
never seen Mike and the Moon Pies.
No, yeah, it wasn't Mike and the Moon Pies. It was just one guy who was there before American Aquarium.
Huh. That's gonna bother me now that I can't remember that. I'm gonna have to look it up.
I can't remember either.
Yeah,
I want to say.
I think it was a repeat guy.
Yeah, I want to say we didn't really. You didn't. I don't even think you even knew who it was.
Yeah, it's very popular. No, there's a lot of people that come on this show. Not this show, but their Road Trip Raleigh shows that I don't know. I mean, I know the ones that are more up my alley, like, you know, when they've had Mike and the Moon Pies, Brent Cobb, Turnpike, obviously.
Who's opening this week?
So Thursday night is the night I'm looking forward to the most. It's because Old 97s is the main is the middle act on Thursday night. They are one of the best live bands out there. Rhett Miller.
Will he give you another drunk interview?
Well, he doesn't drink, but
I was talking about you and Andy.
We weren't drunk then either.
We weren't drinking for that. No, yeah. Episode 4 of Country and Cold Cans, our very first interview on this podcast, was Rhett Miller, the lead singer of Old 97s. Fantastic human being. Such a down to earth guy. But Old 97s is one of the best live bands out there. I'm really looking forward to that night because them followed by, you know, BJ and the boys, who I haven't really seen in a couple years. It's gonna be a good show.
Mm-hmm.
Then Zach Bryan is opening Saturday night.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Then there's some bunch of other artists that I don't know a whole lot about that I'm interested to see because, you know, sometimes I hear some cool artists on the on like at these shows that, you know, I end up, some of them I'm fans of and some of them I don't ever listen to again. But, you know, it's definitely an eclectic group with that BJ gets to open a lot of times, like sonically speaking. So it's I'm excited to hear the openers.
Yeah, looks like fun. Don't they have an album soon?
Paul Coffin.
Was it Paul Coffin?
It could be.
He's done it twice, hasn't he?
Cocaine Country Dancing.
It might have been.
Yeah, it might have been Paul Coffin.
It might have been. I can't remember.
Yeah. We'll see. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, Richard Raleigh's always a lot of fun. Always fun getting friends to come into town, especially ones that don't live around here and, you know, going to those shows. I remember the funniest thing, Andy, probably was that year that Dustin and Jenny came down and, you know, Morgan came again with us. And then Cookie, Chase, and me and you were there.
The year we had a lot of room.
Yeah. And Jamie Lynn Wilson was opening, and God bless her, because
dear God,
we were morons when we were talking to her because we were we had tons of room at the top of at the front of the stage, and we were like, this is weird. There must not be as normally as many people here as it usually is, but really we were all just so redneck and dancing around and acting a fool that people just didn't want to stand near us.
I can sum you up the whole when we met Jamie Lynn Wilson. The next morning, Logan shows me a picture of him and Jamie Lynn Wilson. I was like, dang, I wish I got a picture with him. And he scrolls one, and there's a picture of all three of us.
Those were photos that never made it to the Instagram. She was very, very gracious and super nice about like us coming up after the show. Hey, can we get a picture?
I wouldn't know if she wasn't, because I don't remember ever meeting her.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fun night though. Like we, like I said, Chase and Cookie came, and Chase wasn't super impressed when he left. He never went back, but it was a bunch of Halifax County people, including Morgan, because Morgan's from Halifax County, Virginia. So when you bring Halifax County in there, you gave us all a few cold snacks, if you will. We had people not wanting to be anywhere near us.
Oh, well, they hate you because they ain't you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's juice of the way it goes.
But yeah, road trip to Raleigh this weekend. I'll have a report back to you guys next podcast. But all right, moving right along. Cold Cans Rundown, weekly 6-pack. This was something that I got to thinking about the other day that I wanted to bring to the floor. I thought would be a kind of a fun topic here on Country and Cold Cans. Because one thing that we're all to varying degrees are into is sports. We also all like TVs and movies. And there have been some really great and also really shitty sports movies and television shows. So what I wanted to kind of talk about was what are all of our top 3 best or top 3 favorite sports movies and or TV shows. So starting at number 3, Kyle, why don't you go first?
Number 3, I'm going with The Waterboy. Adam Sandler. I think it's the mid-90s. That counts as a sports movie, doesn't it?
What would you say?
The Waterboy.
Oh, it counts. Football.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a text and got distracted. So
okay. Yeah, okay. I didn't know how tight we were making this window, if it was like true sports movies or what. But
yeah, I didn't know either on that one.
So I'm going with The Waterboy. Captain Insano right behind me. Captain Insano. Just a hilarious movie. It never gets old. All those 90s Adam Sandler movies are still hilarious to this day.
Oh, no. We suck again.
Him and Rob Schneider. You're going to do it all night long. So, yeah, that's my 3rd best of all time sports movies.
Yeah, at 90s Adam Sandler, like late 90s, early 2000s was his peak because, you've got Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison and Big Daddy
Dates.
and 51st. Like Click was even okay. But like that run of movies was like The Wedding Singer was pretty good if you haven't ever watched that.
Yeah.
But that run of movies by him was by far the best stretch of his career.
Yeah, and they're still golden.
Yeah, Billy Madison, I love that movie. But
yes.
All right, Andy, number 3 for you.
I have to go with my favorite basketball movie and my favorite player, Coffee Black, semi-pro.
That's a good movie.
It is a good movie. That's a good pool.
Yeah, like I love Will Ferrell in that movie with the big afro, and he's like, has all these ridiculous promotions
And he
to try to get people. Fights the bear. He's like, I'm going Rover, coach. I'm going Rover. That's a good movie. All right, so for me, number 3, I would say is probably you guys went funny. I definitely didn't, but would be Rudy.
He was offsides.
Do I know?
He was offsides.
He probably was, at least with the movie. But it's about pretty much just a underdog story, which goes well with sports. But it's inspired by a true story. We've come to find out that it's not exactly the same as what happened in real life. But who cares about that? The movie's great. This kid goes to Holy Cross and then transfers into Notre Dame. Keeps telling everybody that he's gonna play football for Notre Dame. Wants to be able to show his family and have him at the game while he runs out of the tunnel. And, he works his ass off. As it's said in the movie, he's 5'0", not an ounce of talent. And he goes out there and after the team, when there was a coaching change in his senior year, the team kind of all put their jerseys on the coach's desk and was saying that, this one's for Rudy, coach. This one's for Rudy. He finally got to go out there and got the tackle against Georgia Tech and was, it's just the ultimate underdog story for a sports movie. So if you haven't seen Rudy, definitely check that out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll think about it.
Have you never seen it?
No, honestly.
Seriously?
You're going to get a kick out of this one. Honestly, I thought Rudy was about a horse. I thought he was a racing horse.
I think you're thinking about Seabiscuit.
I thought it was just another version of Seabiscuit.
You might be getting it confused. Was it Free Willy?
Yeah. No, Andy wrote Andy wrote an essay about Wet Willie because he misspoke about Free Willy in his essay in college one time, and Andy said, well, it's high school. Andy goes, "Yeah, I watched the movie Wet Willie." He goes, "Wet Willie came erect out of the water for all the people to see."
I got an A on it.
Yeah, I don't think they actually.
I don't think the teacher read it.
No,
that's what I was banking on when I wrote that.
Because you wrote it at like the period before, I think.
Yeah, like 5 minutes before.
Oh, Wet Willie the movie coming erect out of the water for all the people to see. Oh man! All right, number 2, top 3 best sports movies and/or TV shows. Andy, take it away.
Days of Thunder. I gotta put a NASCAR movie in there.
I've never seen that
it?
one.
Recommend it. Starring Tom Cruise and Robert Duvall.
That is a good movie.
Probably 80s, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
They say that movie was about inspired by Rick Hendrick and somebody, I think.
I think it was hit or miss on a lot of people. Like Earnhardt and Bodine, like there was a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
That is a good movie. That's the one where they said Rubbin's racing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thought it was.
That's about the only serious sports movie I could really even think of.
Well, of course, you think Rudy is a horse movie.
There were so many, man. I had to make an honorable mention list and like actually mark some out that I was like, you know what, this has to go.
There's just so many good sports movies, but
there are, yeah.
All right, Kyle, what's your number 2?
Cinderella Man, Russell Crowe.
I don't know that one. No.
Oh, you've never seen that? Oh, it's a boxing movie. It's set in the 50s, I believe.
Oh, fuck! I forgot about Rocky.
Which one?
Andy? Damn it, Andy! That was one of my honorable mentions. I wanted to. Rocky 4 is the best one.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah, Cinderella Man. He's a boxer. I think it's set in the 50s, if I remember right. But anyway, it's a phenomenal scene where essentially the guy is like that downtrodden, hard on his luck. And he goes in, there's a famous scene in it where he gets a welfare check. He's never, ever received a welfare check. And after he wins his first fight with his prize money, he goes back into the welfare office with a bag of money and puts it on the table. And the lady's like, you don't have to pay this back. Yes, I do. And puts it in there and just leaves. He paid back his welfare check.
Oh, geez.
Phenomenal movie. It's, I believe it's either the 30s or the 50s. I can't remember what time frame it's set in. But you ought to watch it. It's got Russell Crowe in it. Russell Crowe's a great actor. Boxing movie.
Yeah,
really
I'll check that out. I've never seen it before. So I'll have to add that to my list.
I believe it's on Netflix. If it's not, I know it's on Prime.
I gotcha.
What year did that come out?
I think it's 2004 or 2005. I'll look.
Okay.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, me neither.
I know the Eminem song.
Yeah, 2005. That's when it came out.
Gotcha. Well, for me, number 2, I'm keeping it in football. And it's a movie that I have always loved ever since I was a little kid. It came out when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. But it's a Remember the Titans. Fantastic movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a school in Virginia who it's based on another one that's based on a true story that is about like when they like started to integrate the schools. And about like the football team, the coach took them to Gettysburg to be able to do training camp and wanted the team to come together and put aside their differences amidst like the height of the racial division during that time. And they finally put their differences aside. They go on to win the state championship, and then it's like some great side stories with Gary Bertier when he gets injured in that car wreck. But I love quoting that movie. And it's one of those just great football movies that I think everybody should watch. So Remember the Titans for me at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 1 on the top 3 best sports movies and TV shows. Kyle, what's your favorite one? Number 1.
So this was a hard choice, but I think it's probably the greatest sports story of probably the 20th century, in my opinion. True Americana, shows why we're the best, and that's Miracle. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
Yeah, about the 1980?
Yep, 1988 Olympic team, or it might have been 1980. I don't even remember what year it was. Team to beat the Soviets to win the gold medal. This was before you could have professionals on your Olympic teams, so they're just a bunch of college kids.
You can have professionals now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think the dream team is or was in the 90s for the Olympics and basketball?
I believe this was the actual last Olympics that you couldn't have professionals on your teams. And the reason the U.S. changed it is because the Soviets had professionals on their hockey team. But just a freaking awesome movie. And pure Americana. We're the best. And Kurt Russell does a great job in that movie.
Hell yeah, America.
And I believe the
Yeah.
the actor formerly known as Bruce Jenner is in it.
Really?
Yes,
I didn't know that.
I believe he's in it, if I remember correctly.
I didn't know he was an actor.
Yeah.
I knew he was an Olympic gold
Yeah, I didn't
medalist,
know
but
that
I didn't
either.
know he did acting. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right,
I believe
Andy,
it.
what's your number one?
Mine's totally away from that one. And I'm calling this a sports show because it vaguely almost isn't. I'm going Blue Mountain State.
That's a great show. That's a good fool. I forgot about that show.
That's hilarious.
That show is hilarious. I can't even remember a single episode, but I've seen that show probably 3 times all the way through.
You know what I think the greatest sports TV show is? Not movie, and it's probably The League.
The League is a great show.
That show is so good, man.
Yeah,
Have you ever seen it, Andy?
about fantasy football.
I've seen some of it.
Yeah, it's got God, what's his face? The guy that does Big Mouth now. That really
That
cringe.
scene where he was standing outside of the glass door with a knife, that was hilarious.
Talking about Taco.
Yeah, The League is such a good show. I might start rewatching that.
I love that scene where he's coming into the bar and he goes, there must be lots of hot girls in there. He goes, Taco, what do you mean? He goes, well, there's lots of Volkswagen Jettas out in the parking lot. Only hot girls drive those. Definitely recommend. But yeah, Andy, Blue Mountain State's a great show too. It's so dumb, but it's like it knows it's dumb. It's a funny show. And like freaking Thad Castle. Great
Dad
character.
Castle, yeah.
Great character. I love the scene from the Blue Mountain State movie where he's like, there's only one room in the cocaine room, or one rule in the cocaine room. Don't die. But then again, do die because it means more for me.
He couldn't make a show like that, dude. That
No.
right around 2010 or probably 2005 to like 2014 or so was some of the funniest shows ever made.
Oh yeah, dude. Like,
I mean, you had
It's-
Tropic Thunder.
Wilfred.
Yeah, what was the basketball movie with Will Ferrell?
semi-pro that Andy mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell? Yeah. That's a great movie. I forgot. Yeah. Yeah, you did mention that one. I forgot already.
That time frame, we were talking about it at work the other day. That time frame was so good for TV and movies because it was like we had, as a society, moved on to where we like didn't say certain things because we knew things were wrong that people didn't know were wrong in the past, but people weren't so fucking soft like they are now. Like The Office, hilarious. Like Michael,
phenomenal.
Steve Carell himself said that wouldn't be made today, and he's right. But
Diversity Day.
dude, so crazy. Like, I'm surprised they haven't pulled those episodes off of TV.
Diversity Day is no longer in Comedy Central's.
Really?
Yeah, it's not. You have to own the series to watch it.
Yeah.
Comedy Central pulled it.
Mhm.
Is all of South Park still on there?
Yes, it is.
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because
I
you
know.
cannot cancel Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
People have tried.
They have tried. You know, one of the funniest things about Matt Stone and Trey Parker is they hate celebrities so much that Jerry Seinfeld wanted to be on an episode of South Park because he thought it was hilarious. So they were like, yeah, come on. And all they gave him was like a one-liner in the whole episode. Freaking Jerry Seinfeld, probably one of the best comedians
Oh, yeah.
of all time. And they were just
Star
like,
of
yeah,
another great TV show.
yeah, there was here's your one-liner.
That's pretty funny. They big time Jerry Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm. Which is just hilarious.
Yeah. So, Kyle, did I go to you for number one yet?
I just said,
We got sidetracked, so I couldn't remember who went.
I just said Miracle.
That's right. Yeah, so that means that leaves me. So my favorite is a TV show, and it's vastly better than the movie version of it. But Friday Night Lights, fantastic show.
Yeah.
The guy that plays Eric Taylor in that song nailed it. I mean, that show nailed it. Connie Britton, his wife, perfect. Connie Britton was such a good looking woman. Especially during that time period when she was on that show. But they were a perfect like wife and coach chemistry on camera. And then Tim Riggins, all-time great, one of the all-time great television characters, full eyes, clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose, Texas forever. Like that, you have to watch that show if you like football. Especially, it kind of shows the a somewhat realistic, not totally realistic, obviously, because it's TV, but a somewhat realistic idea of how seriously people in Texas take high school football. because it's a different animal down there than it is like what we're used to in North Carolina. And you get like when it seems kind of strange to people who didn't grow up in where high school football is that big to where like they're treating it like, it's the end all be all. You got Buddy Garrity, another great character, who's the local guy that owns the dealership, one of the head of the booster club, always trying to influence things with the football team. And then, you got to have mention for a couple of the women that were on the first couple seasons. They were, it had Derek Jeter's ex-girlfriend on there, and then Adrienne Palacki, I believe is her name. She was a good looking woman too. So great characters, great cast, good storylines. If you like football, you'll love Friday Night Lights.
Eric Taylor, that's his name.
Yep, Eric Taylor.
Yep.
All right.
So I have an honorable mention, and it's got to be The Longest Yard.
Which one?
The one with Adam Sandler.
So the remake. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
It's a good
I'll
movie.
throw an honorable mention, Talladega Nights.
Oh, that's a great one too.
It's a funny movie.
Dodgeball.
It's
Dodgeball
so
is the good one.
Oh, dude, Dodgeball is so funny too.
Yeah. Bad News Bears.
Again, which one?
The original one.
The original one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be interested to, hear what people have to think about what their favorite sports movies and TV shows are. There's just so many to pick from. So many. And like you guys named stuff that I wouldn't have even thought about, which is why I wanted to talk about this because I knew we'd have vastly different lists. So it was kind of cool to see what you guys thought on that.
Yeah.
We mentioned it, but Happy Gilmore has to be mentioned again.
Oh, yeah. Happy Gilmore for sure. Funny movie. But
all
right, moving right along in the weekly six pack. Keeping it football related. Recap kind of what happened here in the NFL playoffs last week. This has to be, tell me what you guys think. This has to be probably one of the best back-to-back weekends of football playoffs that has ever happened. I'm not a big NFL guy, admittedly. I halfway watched the week before, but it's like I caught the end of the Bills-Chiefs game 2 weeks ago. I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot and hope the games are just as good or at least close. And then, dude, I got to say that Bengals-Chiefs game, the Bengals are down 21-3. Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks in the in the NFL, and then they choked, dude. Joe Burrow, he pulled it out.
Yeah. So I think I'm a bigger NFL fan than you are.
For sure.
But yeah, phenomenal job by the NFL. That's 2 weekends in a row of OT football. I'm happy either way. This is the first time in a long time I don't have a rooting interest in the Super Bowl. I'm not going to be upset if Matt Stafford gets one because he's played on just a lot of shit teams in Detroit.
I like Stafford.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be mad to see him get one. And I'm also Joe Burrow is the man. I think he's just going to be a dude for a long time in the league.
Dude, the AFC quarterbacks that are in there right now, like it's out of control with Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow. You have Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert
lurking out there. Yeah,
this might be like collectively the best group of quarterbacks at one time that we've ever seen in one conference.
Oh yeah, and like I said, the best thing that happened is we don't have to see Jackson Mahomes TikToking on the sidelines.
Yes. And if you want to see a little bit right up on that, go on to countryandcoldcans.com and read our latest blog post because that's exactly what we said. Jackson Mahomes is so fucking annoying, dude.
The first time I ever saw him or ever even heard of him was as a team formerly known as the Redskins and soon to be formerly known as the football team. What they did the Sean Taylor Remembrance Day. He was a elite level safety who tragically died during the home invasion gone wrong and was killed. They, had the memorial thing, had his family out there. I think they retired his number. And he's out there TikTok dancing on his number on the sideline.
And it was roped off. It was
roped off, yeah. It wasn't like it was just an accident. He just wasn't paying attention where he was at. Yeah, it was a roped off area with his number painted on the field. And you're out there TikTok dancing. Like
total asshole move because it's not like he just happened to walk across it. Like it was literally roped off and he decides to do one of his little stupid TikToks.
I hate our generation. I hate it.
Dude.
Sounds like something an Eagles fan would do.
I don't know. Eagles fans are a little bit grittier than that.
Yeah,
Snowball Santa.
That's kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie.
That's low.
Ooh, speaking of which, this reminds me. Have you seen for 2 consecutive years now that the Bills fans have thrown dildos on the field?
Yeah.
Which I think is a hilarious tradition.
Bills fans
Those
are
people are
different.
wow.
Yes, they are different animals.
Yeah.
I guess
And
the cold
apparently-
does that to you.
They're a
apparently
mafia.
apparently they were trying to stop it, and someone still got a massive blue dildo in the facility. And
Did
threw
you
it on
watch
the field.
the Rams 49ers game?
I was dozing off
Yeah.
because I'm an old man. But yes, I did watch the comeback, and I was
Yeah.
poor Jimmy G, man. He gets all this shit, and
I
his
have no
defense
sympathy
is
for Jimmy G.
Jimmy GQ.
He's
Dating
such a
porn
dirt
stars.
ball, man. Yeah, he's
Dating
such a
porn-
dirt ball.
I don't really have anything against Jimmy G. You know, but that's two times in a row though. His defense, he's had a 2-score advantage in a Super Bowl and an NFC Championship game. His defense just choked.
Yep.
So
I don't think he's that good, if I'm being honest.
I agree.
I don't either, but
I
you can
think
be
he's as
average
good
and
as
still win
Dak
Super Bowls.
Prescott, which
Fair
is
comparison.
slightly above average, maybe.
I think Prescott's better than Jimmy G.
I think
I'm
Prescott
biased,
is-
but I would agree.
I mean,
I think-
granted, I judge a lot of my reason for why I think people are good in the NFL based on their fantasy football production they give me.
a lot of people are like that. There was one guy that parlayed the scores, not the money line, excuse me, the
Mhm.
scores for both NFL and AFC and NFC championship games. $20 bet netted him $500K. Got both the
Jeez.
scores right. Yeah, parlayed them together. And
Did
then
he win it?
Yes, he hit it.
Jeez,
$20 bet, $500K.
that's crazy.
Mhm.
Dude, I wish the
Both the
sports
scores
gambling
right.
was legal in North Carolina.
I think it will be sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Wait, so we can get on Barstool Sportsbook.
Yep. I'll be on my bookie. I'll become a degenerate.
I saw an ad where people in Florida, I said, well, I was in Florida, and I saw an ad. People didn't want sport. There was an ad to not get sports betting in Florida. Why would you not want that?
Like,
I
if
know
you
it-
don't want to do it, just don't do it. Like, but everybody
Yeah,
else
that's
that
what
wants to
I'm saying.
gamble on the game, let them do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't quite fully understand that whole aspect of sports betting. I don't get it.
So Super Bowl, we got Bengals' first trip back there since 1989 versus the Rams. The Rams, famously were there a few years ago and lost to none other than the GOAT, Tom Brady.
Yes.
But Jared Goff ain't QB anymore. Matt Stafford's a fantastic quarterback who just was stuck on a shithole of a team for a long time. So we've got the Rams now in LA playing at home. Tell me this.
No,
I really
it's
think
not-
the NFL was fucking rigged because you had Tampa playing at Tampa last year for the Super Bowl and now LA playing at their home stadium. Okay. What are the odds of that?
I
It's
think
the first time it's ever happened. I looked this up last night. The only 6 times in the history of the Super Bowl has the hosting stadium's home team ever even made the playoffs.
yes. haven't
And now
been-
for the team to make it to the Super Bowl, it's twice in a row.
yes, I think the Tampa one might have been a little bit of a fluke because they're scheduled out many years in advance, so they
Yeah.
wouldn't have known Brady was there. And the Rams, they want to get in that new stadium, and it's in Vegas next year, so
Yeah.
How long has it been? The Super Bowl's been scheduled out.
they're usually 3 or 4 years out. They bid them out to cities.
Fair.
And especially if a team gets a new stadium, they want to get them in there quick. Like Minnesota got one a couple years ago when that new stadium opened up. So
Yeah.
Minnesota.
That LA
had it.
stadium is really cool looking too.
Yeah, it's really dope. I think Las Vegas is the coolest stadium. It's in the desert. It looks like a black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool stadium.
All right. So Bengals, Rams. Who are you guys pulling for?
Rams.
I really don't have a really interest. I'd be happy either way because one of the. All right, Andy said Rams. I take Bengals.
So I'm okay with either team winning, just because one, I'm not a fan of either. I really don't give a shit. But I'd be okay with Stafford finally getting a Super Bowl. But at the same time, I really like Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase is a fantastic receiver, and it was really cool seeing. Have you guys seen that Jamar Chase's dad and Joe Burrow's dad have been tailgating together at all these games, smoking cigars out in the parking lot?
No, I haven't. That's pretty
I have
dope.
to send y'all that photo. It's hilarious. Like it's hard not to pull for a team like Cincinnati, just because as a fellow fan of lots of teams that haven't won a championship outside of the Atlanta Braves,
Yes.
2021 world champions in the MLB, that just don't win championships. I'm kind of feel like a kindred spirit for the Cincinnati fans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Bengals will be the Bengals will be good.
Yeah,
Stafford's just like the only player I like. I just really don't care about really anybody else in it.
You got a man crush on Matt Stafford, Andy?
Is he like the football Parker McCollum for you?
No, I just don't. He just one.
He's like, I can't explain it. I just like the guy. Have you guys ever noticed how he looks just like Jason Isbell?
Matt Stafford?
Dude, yes. Google them both. Like, they look exactly alike.
Never pay attention to that. You piqued my curiosity.
They look exactly alike.
I don't think I see that.
Andy, are you looking at a picture of him?
In my head, yeah.
That doesn't fucking count. How often do you look at pictures of Matt Stafford?
Like every night.
Andy's like, it gets lonely on the road.
I just saw him in an interview, like last night.
Yeah, that okay, I can see it. Yeah, here's a picture of them side by side. Yeah, I can kind of see it. Funny stat though, if Joe Burrow does win, he'll be one of 3 quarterbacks to win a national championship in college and a NFL championship.
And I think he'd be the only one that would win a Heisman, a national title, and a Super Bowl.
I don't know. But I know, but the other 2, their names are both Joe.
Joe Montana.
And Joe Namath.
Really? Did Joe Montana win the Heisman?
I don't know. I don't know if he won it at Notre Dame.
I'm not sure. But either way, I'm interested. We'll give more of a breakdown next week because, it's still 2 weeks out from the Super Bowl.
So who you got in the Pro Bowl, though?
Yeah, more like I don't give a shit.
Who's winning the NASCAR race?
Isn't that like a week from now?
No, well, they got the
Daytona?
first race is Daytona is probably going to be the weekend after the Super Bowl, but they're running at the LA Coliseum next weekend.
Oh, that's cool.
Is that the first race of the year?
Yeah, they moved the Busch Clash from Daytona it's the Busch Clash now. It used to be the Bud Shootout.
Really?
They moved it from Daytona to LA Coliseum.
Interesting. Well, NASCAR's almost back, so. All right, moving into the last topic here, Cold Cans Rundown on the weekly 6-pack. So we have a brand new website this year. I talked about it with the guys here a couple days ago. We've decided to collaborate with the other, as I've called it here before, our sister pod, and kind of form what we're calling, the Cold Cans Network of sorts, where we have go to countryandcoldcans.com. We have a brand new website, just went live yesterday. We have Country and Cold Cans as the flagship show, obviously being the bigger show and the one that started first, and also just a badass logo. What am I going to say?
Yeah, you did a good job.
We're gonna have a blog on there. We'll have some articles here and there for you guys on that. I've already talked to a couple other dudes who are interested in writing for the blog. With some we're gonna be covering music, sports, things like with the Miserable and Reckless. Kind of has a tagline. It's like all things the South. So we're gonna be like some Southern topics, a little bit of beer and barbecue, and then if I can talk classic rock harder and to contribute in a little bit, he can help out with our pro wrestling aspect of the website. But you have links to the shop that's up and running now. You have links to both the podcast Country and Cold Cans has its landing page, and also links to Spotify and Apple Podcasts everywhere it's available. Same thing with Miserable and Reckless on that. But it's kind of I'm excited about it. The website looks as good as my abilities allow me to be able to do. And but this is kind of entering into a new era for the 2 podcasts, kind of branding themselves together for the first time. I've kept them separate for over a year, but now it's time to together our combined forces will be greater than ever on the Cold Cans Network.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, the Galactic Empire. Exactly.
Power to the cans.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, I guess that wraps up the Cold Cans Rundown, the weekly 6-pack. This episode of Country and Cold Cans, I'm Logan, sitting here with Andy and Kyle, and we will see you next week.
1, 2, 3, 4.